Dragon's Lair, a fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon. You control the actions of a daring adventurer finding his way through the castle of a dark wizard who has enchanted it with treacherous monsters and obstacles. In the mysterious caverns below the castle, your odyssey continues against the awesome forces that oppose your efforts to reach the Dragon's Lair. Lead on, adventurer. Your quest awaits.
Hello everybody, this is Enuice. We're here with a special episode of Dragon's Lair 3D. What you're about to see is the video special of 20 years of Dragon's Lair. How a simple idea turned a game into the most popular icon of all time. Created by brainchild Dyer, and he joined forces with former Disney animators Bluth, Pomeroy, and Gerry Goldman, who put their talents all together to create one of the most popular Laserdisc video games of all time. And also, the music of the game is done by famous musician-composer Christopher Stone. What you're about to see is that special of how, in order to celebrate 20 years of Dragon's Lair, they created a 3D game based on the popular video game, with all the characters moving fluidly throughout the game, especially the hero Dirk the Daring, as he tries to save his beloved Princess Daphne. And they will tell how the game was made, how the original arcade game was made, and how they transformed that game into a 3D game. So, let's load up the gallery, and we're going to celebrate the history of Dragon's Lair. Here we go. Enjoy the history. There's 3 parts to it.
Celebrating 20 years of Dragon's Lair. You'll go behind the scenes and hear the true story of the making of Dragon's Lair. Meet the creative team behind one of the most successful games in history.
In 1983, Dragon's Lair was the first Laserdisc point-operated video game. This year, Dragon's Lair is going to make history again. It is the first high-definition TV video game ever to be created.
Meet the voices behind the characters. Get a first look at Dragon's Lair 3D, the groundbreaking game that is about to make history all over again.
Dragon's Lair has proven 2 or 3 times previously to be an amazing winner. This time, with the technology, it's going to go through the ceiling.
Welcome to a celebration of 20 years of Dragon's Lair. This is a very dangerous place indeed. It's the giant castle of the evil Mordroc, a powerful dark wizard who is definitely up to no good. You see, the evil dragon Singe has captured the lovable princess Daphne and locked her in a bubble. It's up to bumbling Dirk the Daring to navigate the many dangers of the castle and save the princess. And there you have it, the basic premise of one of the most enduring video games in history. One of just 3 to make it all the way to the Smithsonian Institute. Hello, I'm Dave Hood. The story of Dragon's Lair begins when Rick Dyer, Don Bluth, Gerry Goldman, and John Pomeroy put their creative forces together, and the result was a game that saved the coin-op industry, and over the next 20 years went on to become a household word. Dragon's Lair made its way to almost all of the major game platforms, to DVD, and even to television. And now, the same team is at it again. Dragon's Lair is about to be reborn, and to think that it all started as a simple idea back in 1982. The original Dragon's Lair was the brainchild of Rick Dyer. The entrepreneur and inventor had the idea to take a new technology, combine it with an animated film, and create an interactive fantasy game called Dragon's Lair.
I went to see this film called The Secret of NIMH, and I just loved that film. And I just pointed to the screen and I said, that's what we want to animate Dragon's Lair.
The Secret of NIMH was the product of Don Bluth Productions in Studio City, California. The former Disney animators had struck out on their own. Don Bluth, Gerry Goldman, and John Pomeroy have since gone on to produce more than 11 animated motion pictures.
Rick Dyer walked into our office with an idea for a video game based on Laserdisc technology, where we would be able to make a movie-like video game with a branching technique that allowed the player to make certain decisions and watch the continuity and essentially watch a movie.
A deal was quickly put together between the Bluth animation team in Studio City and Dyer's creative team in San Diego. Then began a race against the clock to have a sample ready for the Chicago Game Show just a few months away.
We started in about October, maybe even November of 1982, and we were racing towards a date. I believe the date was March of 1983, which would be the Chicago Game Show. We were borrowing money from everybody we knew to keep this game alive.
We were really doing something that had never been done before because of the introduction of a brand new technology at the time called the laser disc. And it enabled you to have virtually instantaneous access to any part of a film or series of video clips, and you could put them together not quite seamlessly, but almost.
Somewhere around the late January, we found an investor that would put up the money to actually do the production and get us to the Chicago Game Show.
The central character in Dyer's Dragon's Lair is a bumbling knight the team chose to call Dirk the Daring. Creating Dirk was a formidable task.
The problem that animators have, which is very similar to what actors have, is before they can pick up a pencil and draw a character, either his design or draw him moving, you have to figure out what's going on in his head. So I think the first place you go is to try and find the character. And with Dirk, that's what it was all about. We wanted to find out what's going on inside the guy's head. He has illusions of grandeur. He actually thinks he's greater than he really is. That's what makes him funny. He'll tackle something that seems absolutely overwhelmingly impossible because he doesn't get that it's impossible. Dirk to me represents the bumbler. You know, the guy who just can't get it right, trips over himself, his feet are too big, his hands are too big. Everything about him says he's not your typical hero. And I kept thinking, how can we make that guy appealing? And the first thing we went to, usually when you're creating a character, is the voice. What kind of voice is it going to be? And then finally, after trying a lot of voices and hearing a lot of people talk, looking at a lot of videos and everything, we said, let's don't make him talk. Because the more we put a voice in him, the more he took on a different kind of a spin as a hero. And so we just said, if he really is a bumbler, probably all I could do is yell and scream and, and holler and show pain when he bumps into something. So we just made him pretty much a, clumsy guy. And I think that's part of his appeal. A director's lot is a strange one, because what you try and do is entertain an audience, and at the same time, at the end of this entertainment, they have learned something that might be edifying to their own life. And I find that storyboarding is the place where I have enjoyed my career the most. Storyboarding is really a director's job, because what it is taking all the little messages, good, bad, scary, whatever they might be, and giving them to the audience at a certain rate of speed or in a certain order, so that the audience goes through an emotional experience. And as you follow the escapades or the journey of the hero through a story, it evokes some kind of an emotion in each of us who are the viewers. And the director's job, which has generally been my lot in life, the director's job is to make sure that the audience goes through this journey and has this emotional reaction. I think with Dirk, I really originally expected nothing to happen, but I found that it's probably been one of the most influential characters that we've created.
Dan Molina, who is the original editor of the game, became the voice of Dirk.
They didn't have any funds to hire any real talent, so they hired me. And I was the editor on the film. And I would cut in my little screams and grunts and groans and sounds. And it stuck.
Now, with the Chicago Game Show just weeks away, the race was on.
So we raced like mad. If you understand animation, you can't do animation fast, especially if you're going to do it well. And we had a small crew, and we were able to put together, I think, about 5 what we would call rooms that the player could go through. And Rick and the people at Cinetronics took this small portion of the game to Chicago, and it became the hit of that game show.
But it wasn't at all what I expected. We didn't think the game would be anything but just, maybe successful. But it was more than just successful. It was very, very big.
Dragon's Lair was not only the hit of the Chicago show, the game sold 32 million in arcade units and took in over $100 million in quarters in 1983. In fact, it proved to be the savior of the $9 billion a year coin-op industry, bringing hundreds of thousands of new customers to the arcades to see this incredible game. The new Laserdisc technology made possible the huge leap forward from the stick-like figures of Pac-Man to the high movie-quality animation of Dragon's Lair. Now, the life cycle of most games is 6 months to a year, so for a game to still be going strong after almost 20 years is unheard of. Dragon's Lair became a phenomenon, and to toy with a concept this successful is dangerous business. So Dyer and his team waited until the time was just right and the technology could rise to the task of reinventing the game, this time in 3D, this time with the sound of a 70-piece orchestra, and this time the player would actually control all of Dirk's movements in real time. It recently made its debut at the E3 convention in Los Angeles, where thousands had the opportunity to see and play the new Dragon's Lair 3D.
Don, Gary, John, and myself, we were reluctant to do a 3D version of Dragon's Lair because we were so protective of Dirk and Daphne and the characters, and it really wasn't until this year that we could truly make the characters real and give you the control of Dirk and be able to make him do all the things that you've always dreamed of.
Dragon's Lair, even though it had been continuing to sell as DVD, he said we can pull this together and make a brand new game by making it digital, doing a CGI version of it.
Yeah, but you know, what I thought was interesting, they said, why should we be doing this? I mean, the other one's there. Why is it going to be better? And I think the better, where I got convinced, where he said, because you'll have control of dirt. It'll be not only just 3D, which we're all used to doing in movies, he said, but you'll get to make that guy do the jumps, the rolls, the dives, the walks, everything. He said, that's different.
We try to remain faithful to the integrity, the way it looked before, but it's been enhanced and beefed up. The way the characters move, the way they turn corners, the way they'll battle, all of this action has been heightened quite a bit with the technology that's available to us now. It wasn't available to us 20 years ago. Being faithful to the personalities was important because there's a whole generation of game players that remember the Dragon's Lair. But in today's marketplace, you have to be much more exciting, much more daring. So we want to get them involved in a virtual adventure. Take them through the maze, throw them in the pit, feel the fire. Everything is not just seen, also felt. I mean, it's a all-encompassing battle that they get wrapped up into. Much more adventurous, much more involved in the original game of 20 years ago. So we're very grateful for the technology. We're very grateful for the people who've come to us. Rick with all of his technicians and how they have plussed all of the action and made it incredibly, incredibly real.
When we were making the original Dragon's Lair movie, we had hoped so much that perhaps this would open the door to what I call a interactive movie, not just what we would call a game. And as I was sitting here today, you know, looking at some of the outtakes and some of the things that are in the actual Dragon's Lair 3D, I kept thinking, you know what, this is as close to an interactive movie as we can get. The score, the sound effects, the drama, and you participating in it. You are interacting or causing this movie to move forward. And you literally become the protagonist or the hero that's going on a journey. So I think this is a great step forward just in the name of entertainment.
To meet the challenge of creating Dragon's Lair in 3D, a company called Dragonstone was created, where the very best talent in the business was brought together to rise to the task of realizing the original arcade cartoon look of the game in polygon form. Now, the biggest challenge was to bring the original cartoon look from the Bluth team to the now more than 240 computer-generated rooms of the castle, and to try to maintain the cartoon, cel-shaded look that was so important to the look of the characters.
Well, what I do is, first of all, I have to make sure that our game matches the original game. I model the characters, like Daphne here. I modeled her. Then what I do is, after modeling her, I place all the texture maps on her, because without the texture maps, she just looks like, you know, a solid mass.
240 rooms, 40 characters, all artificially created in a fantasy world. It's taken 4 years of hard work and innovation to make it real. Anything less was not acceptable.
Spirit of the environment itself, the castle, many of the same paintings that we had in the original Dragon's Lair game were all scanned into the computer and mapped all over the walls of the castle and everything. So he has taken those and they have built on that.
We do have new rooms that we don't have references for because they're brand new, so we have to come up with something very similar. So my job is at some point give the artists and the level mappers something to go on.
Very proud of the fact that Dragon's Lair 3D will be the first game simultaneously released on all of the major platforms, and also the first high-definition game ever released.
On HD TV, you have literally the resolution of film, and the new Dragon's Lair is 1,080 lines by 1,920 lines. So that's 1,080 lines high by 1,920 lines long. and that's just an unbelievable resolution.
The Dragonstone team also pioneered a technique called motion blending to give Dirk the ability to move in true 3D.
And that's a process to seamlessly blend the characters' physical movements so that they look natural.
As Dirk runs around in the game, he has a library of 16 different animations that he can switch between, or actually blend between at any given time in order to create a particular animation that he needs to play for some purpose. What we've done is we've taken this forward movement animation and done a continuous blend with a very similar animation where Dirk actually runs sideways. So you can see this is the full sideways animation, and then by doing a continuous blend, we're actually able to take part of the forward animation and part of the sideways animation and play them together, and he can actually run diagonally.
But I notice that when I look at the game, the new 3D game, that it's pushed even farther. The colors and the effects and all the moving sparks and the shadows and everything are all amplified far beyond what we did in the original. So there's something great there. There's another thing artistically which I suggested to Gerry one day. I said, Gerry, you know what, if this is to be a real experience for those who watch it, they need the power of music and they need the power of sound effects. And right now what we're looking at, it's in the early stages, and it appears to just be like watching, a film that hasn't yet gone to be scored. I said, what we really need to do is find Chris Stone again and bring him back into the picture and say, Chris, write us a score for this game. So it's like a movie. And so Chris has gone in and written something which is very much like a big, very powerful movie score.
It's a little more sophisticated, so what I wanted to do is really capture the gist of what I was trying to do 20 years ago and actually make it work 20 years later. It creates a sense of danger, like it tries to suck you into the game more, like you're there, like you're and identifying with the character more, so that when he's in danger, you're feeling the danger sense of it, or when there's a mystical moment, you're experiencing the mystical. It's just to add more realism to it, really, even though there's no music in real life going on back in real life, but somehow it helps in the fantasy process. It would be about a 70-80 piece orchestra in the real world, probably.
To match the original, Darcy Harvier was chosen to be the new voice of Daphne.
I just worked downstairs from these guys, and he was looking for someone who sounded young, and so he just thought of me and introduced me, and next thing you know, I'm Daphne. To slay the dragon, use the magic sword.
Next order of business, coming up with a catchy theme song everyone would like. Julie Eisenhower was chosen to sing.
I hate to tell you what I know would be perfect, and all of you are years to move the ceiling.
No, maybe not. Let's try it.
Rap.
Rap?
Rap. R-A-P.
Or rap.
Rap, yes. See, it's not even a word that flows off your...
Processing.
It's not even a word that flows off your tongue.
Processing.
Yes.
What if you rap to get it into it, and then if there's someplace after a bridge or something where it took off a minute to ballad?
Exactly.
And it went back.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So you want to just run? Should we just run? Sure.
The dragon's word sword. Been there, seen that, done it before. Who's like a dragon? Where it's at? You need to know what's up with that. I want it out, but there's no way. Into my night to beat the dragon. He's my guide. I'm running in him. You don't know what you're missing. He's my guide. I'm running like I'm in. So there's no distance. Look out!
Dragon's Lair 3D Return to the Lair is not just a remake of a great game, but a rebirth in full motion 3D. The original game had 40 rooms to explore. The new game, more than 240 rooms, with close to 40 characters to battle, and 20 of those are brand new. There are hidden secrets and special surprises all the way through the game. And all of this takes place with the backdrop of beautiful hand-painted cel-shaded graphics and original art inspired by Bluth. The new game is a faithful tribute to the old, with enough new surprises to satisfy even the toughest critic. Dragon's Lair 3D is much more than just a video game. It's entertainment, it's a movie, it's a game, and a musical score all rolled into one big adventure that you get to control. It's the first game to successfully bring together the look, feel, and sound of a feature film with the excitement and personal control of a challenging game. And I've even heard a rumor that there may be a movie in the works.
Oh, no one's supposed to know it. Yeah, we're in pre-production right now on that, and we've got a script after about a year working on that, but we're trying to get all the pictures and all the visions and the sets worked out right now, so we'll tell you more about it later.
I can't wait. So to Rick Dyer, Bluth, Gerry Goldman, John Pomeroy, and the entire creative team at Dragonstone, thanks for 20 years of fun, and we're all looking forward to 20 years more. So happy anniversary, Dragon's Lair, and thanks for watching.
Hello, everybody. This is Enuice. We're back here with another episode of Dragon's Lair 3D. What we're doing with this special episode is we are going to show you what you will get if you get all the 100 treasures throughout the entire game. You get special features when you unlock those treasures. When you unlock them, when you grab them all, you get 100. You unlock secrets, extra secrets from the game. So I'm going to start the game and I'm going to show you what I mean. This is what you get after you get all 100 treasures throughout the entire game. You get about 5 bonus features that you can use when you play the game more. The first one is sword time. Just give me a minute here. Sword time. Unlimited mana. Continuous fire sword. Pencil test characters. Smooth shaded characters. Those are the rewards you will get when you unlock these secrets. And since all of these need self-explanatory, I'm gonna let a fellow YouTuber explain in this special feature what each special item can be used for as you play the game more. So, without further ado, I'm gonna let a YouTuber named IKANANKA, I'm gonna write out his credits on here so you'll understand, and that way he can explain to you all that what you get when you collect all 100 treasures. I'll be back soon, and I'm going to turn it over to him. And it'll be his footage that is connected to mine, so that way he can explain to y'all what each one is about. I'll be back soon.
Welcome to the final video in my Let's Play series for the game Dragon's Lair 3D. Now I promised that when I completed playing through the game and collected all 100 of the treasures that I would do a video featuring the new modes that are unlocked. Now in total there are 5 new modes that are unlockable, and once they are available they can be accessed by selecting Start Game as usual. But this time you're presented with a new menu with all of the available new game modes listed. The first is the normal game mode with no rewards, followed by the unlockable game modes, which are Sword Time, Unlimited Mana, which is actually unlocked after collecting only 90 treasures. Then we have Continuous Fire, and then Pencil Test Characters, which is also unlocked after collecting 90 treasures, and Smooth Shaded Characters. Unfortunately, only one mode may be selected when starting a new game. They can't be mixed and matched. Personally, I would have liked to have seen the option to combine modes, where appropriate, when starting a new game, as this could have led to some interesting combinations and extra fun being had. Anyway, let's move on and explore each mode a little so you can see exactly what you get. Sword Time is a bit of a strange one in the game. As you'll see, all of the other unlocked game modes are either totally self-explanatory and/or are activated automatically without input from the player. This is not the case with Sword Time. First of all, what exactly is Sword Time? Well, according to the only information that is still available online about the game, Sword Time provides faster charge times, although this information seems to come from only one person called Ken the Gamer. It's also backed up by Wikipedia, so it must be correct, mustn't it? Well, seems like quite a useful feature, seeing as quite a number of times while playing the game I have been frustrated by how long it takes to charge the sword for a whirlwind attack. Remember though, to do this you need to get to the point in the game where you defeat the Robot Knight and claim the Dragon's Ring of Power. It is this that enables you to start using and collecting mana and also to charge the sword for whirlwind attacks. So let's check it out. Here I'm demonstrating how long it takes to charge the sword, with the upper half of the screen being the normal no rewards mode, while the lower half is playing a game that I started by selecting the Sword Time mode. That looks like the charging time is the same in both cases, don't you think? Let's slow this down and look again, this time at quarter speed. Good grief, the charging time is exactly the same. So what the heck is going on here? Well, thanks to Dave Hallock, who not only operates the long-running Dragon's Lair project website, check out the link in the video description below, but he was also a beta tester for Dragon's Lair 3D and has been providing me with great insights into the game's development and testing throughout my Let's Play series. Well, Dave told me that Sword Time was a play on words and was in fact a nod to Bullet Time that was made famous in the movie The Matrix, as well as the Max Payne series of video games. Now in Max Payne, Bullet Time allows Max to slow down time, and when Bullet Time is activated, gameplay slows but Max can still aim weapons in real time. So Sword Time is effectively Bullet Time with a sword instead of a gun. Okay, so how does one activate Sword Time in the game? There is no documentation for this, and so I spent some time button mashing in the hope that something would happen. And on the verge of giving up, I suddenly saw Dirk swinging his sword in slow motion. Woohoo! I thought. Sword time can be activated using the game controls. So I spent the next 5 minutes figuring out exactly what controls are used to make this happen. And it turned out to be fairly simple in that you just need to tap the block and crouch buttons simultaneously. When you do that, you'll hear an audio cue that sword time has started. That certainly must have been inspired by what happens when Lee Majors, the $6 Million Man, activated his bionic implants. Now, time is then slowed down, during which you can move the camera in real time, much like Max Payne could aim in real time. Also, while sword time is active, you'll hear Dirk's heart beating loudly as a sound cue that sword time is active. After around 5 seconds, as sword time comes to an end, you get another audio cue that sounds very much like someone tearing a sheet of paper. So, in a game that wasn't designed with sword time as a core feature, as opposed to Max Payne where bullet time was an integral component from the beginning, is sword time any good? Well, the answer is yes and no. On the negative side, I found a lot of times where activating it was flaky and would just result in Dirk simply shrugging each time I pressed the block crouch button combo. But when it does work, the 5-second limit provides little opportunity to find an advantage in sword fights. If Dirk takes a hit during sword time, then you can expect Dirk to be frustratingly stunned for the duration. Where sword time does provide an advantage is when firing ranged weapons at enemies, which in this game is the crossbow, and also in avoiding arrows fired at Dirk. In particular though, I suspect sword time would be most advantageous in some of the boss battles where timing moves to avoid ranged attacks from the likes of the Smithy and Mordrok are critical to success. That said, sword time really is a novelty item in the game and was, in my opinion, appropriately placed as an unlockable feature instead of part of the standard options. Overall though, I'm disappointed. I would much have rather seen something that provided a benefit with one of the existing game features rather than implementing a new and somewhat dubious one. As such, it's a great shame that sword time didn't indeed provide faster recharge times for whirlwind attacks. Now that would have been a feature worth unlocking. Unlimited mana is self-explanatory, and that this mode gives you, well, unlimited mana. The way that this has been implemented is that any item whose use would have depleted mana now requires no mana to function. So for example, here we can see me charging my sword for a whirlwind attack, and the mana level doesn't change. As mana is only a factor in the game once you've got the Dragon's Ring of Power from the Robot Knight, this mode has no effect for the beginning portion of the game up to that point. Now my view of this mode is extremely muted. There are so many mana orbs available throughout the game that only on rare occasions did I feel that mana might become a limiting factor to success. But then I would have just resorted to drinking one of my mana potion bottles. So I see this mode as really quite uninspiring and really quite useless. Next up we have Continuous Fire Sword, and this is another self-explanatory mode in that this provides you with the same flaming sword that you normally get when you've collected the Dragon's Flame Essence in the standard No Rewards game mode. However, in the normal game this doesn't happen until you've defeated the Master Smithy, which is around 3/4 of the way through the game. Now, the flaming sword is extremely potent in that it deals double damage in both standard and whirlwind sword attacks, making it the deadliest weapon Dirk has access to in the game. Well, that is with the single exception of the magic arrow. Also, in the Continuous Fire Sword game mode, the flaming sword doesn't consume mana, and it's available right from the beginning of the game. Now this means that in this game mode Dirk has an enormous advantage, and it makes the game so much easier. So if you find defeating the enemies in the game annoying or difficult, then play it with a Continuous Fire Sword and you'll find yourself slicing through them like a knife in butter. The next mode is called Pencil Test Characters and is one of 2 modes that only affect the game's graphics and not the gameplay. Pencil Test Characters, as its name implies, colours all characters in the game as white with simple pencil style lines that outline the main parts of their character. Now there are also some items of background scenes that are affected, including the drawbridge change shown here. Now the Pencil Test Characters mode does result in some interesting graphical scenes, but this is hardly awe-inspiring. My greatest gripe with this mode is that I would have rather seen the characters as true early game development pencil sketches and not as the finished characters with simple black outlines and white fill. I'll leave you with some additional scenes that I recorded in this mode. The final mode is Smooth Shaded Characters, which in my opinion is a lot more interesting than the Pencil Test Characters mode. Now this mode eliminates the 2D cel shaded animation style of the characters with the 3D shaded art style. Now you may be aware that plastic collectible figures of a bunch of Dragon's Lair 3D characters was produced and branded as Dragon's Lair 3D merchandise. And this game mode makes the characters resemble these collectible figures, which is kind of neat. But while I kind of like this mode, the low polygon count of the enemies in the game means that they still look like crap. And so this mode really only complements the main characters in the game with a higher polygon count such as Dirk and Daphne. The problem is these main characters are few and far between, and as such this mode just doesn't add enough to the visuals to motivate me to want to play through the whole game again. So in conclusion folks, in my opinion the unlock modes are all somewhat of a letdown. This game really isn't that hard with its infinite lives, and so modes that attempt to make the game easier are really somewhat of a moot point. And while the graphic modes are interesting for 5 minutes, they don't add nearly enough to make me to want to play through the whole game again, just so I can see what a smooth shaded Singe the Dragon or Mordroc looks like. All in all, rather a disappointment. Anyway, that's it folks. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, please take a second and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching, take care, bye bye.
Okay, by that time you should have heard the fellow YouTuber explain what each of the rewards you get after you have already collected all the 100 treasures throughout the game. And I hope y'all use them as you play the game more. And if you don't have to use them if you don't want to. All you have to do is just click cancel or just put in no rewards right on top of here, or the cancel button. I think that's about it for this special edition of Dragon's Lair 3D. You all take care. It was a good experience playing it throughout the game, playing the game. And other than that, that's it. You all take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you again with another exciting adventure somewhere. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. This is Enuice, and today I'm gonna add a new chapter to my Dragon's Lair 3D library for my YouTube channel. I'm going to show y'all the steps of how to put Dragon's Lair 3D, the game, onto your personal computer. And I will give you the step-by-step instructions of how to do this. And we'll see what happens when I start up the file to see if the game is working on my Windows 10. And as you may or may not know, that over the years since 2003, when the game originally came out, excuse me for my sinuses, ever since the advancement of all the Windows for the PCs, over the years, there are some instances that sometimes the game will not run on the newer compatible systems for Windows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the step-by-step instructions of how to run the game, and should I say put it on your PC, and hopefully my tutoring will help y'all to enable to play the game on your Windows 10 and 11. But if you have any older Windows like Windows Vista or 7, 8, 9, 4, 5 or whatever before Windows 10, you can still play it on your computer. You can install it on your computer. So when I get right back, I will show y'all the steps of how to do this. And let's see what we got here. Okay, OBS Studio. We're gonna we'll keep going on this because you got to get the step by step. Okay. And excuse me, my sinuses is acting up again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my original disc in order to download the game, and we're gonna see how that works out. And I was gonna use my game that's already installed in a file, but I'm gonna try the disc and see how that goes off, and we're gonna see what happens. And let me pop this in and see what happens here. Oh, I forgot to remove that. I'll get to unpin that. Unpin that from the status bar. There we go. Okay, install. Let's see what we got here. Run. We're going to go over here first. Okay, there it is right there. All right. Alright, it's getting ready to run the CD drive. I've been installing this game so many times, this computer has been acting up a little bit. But I'm used to it now. Alright. Just waiting for the board to pop up so I can start the installation process. We'll zoom back up to the thing here. We'll see what happens. Let's give it a minute or so. And we'll go back. Alright, there it is. The opening board for Dragon's Lair 3D. Install, uninstall, play, setup, readme, registration, and quit. So what we're going to do, we're going to press the install. Alright, it's setting it up. Okay, welcome to Dragon's Lair setup. Okay, we're going to click next on this. We're going to say yes on that. Let me see, to install, setup with install, you can choose not to install. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to click next. We're going to get the full thing. We're going to set a Ubisoft program folder. And we got enough information to install this. Alright, here we go. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let it run. Alright. Alright, we're gonna take this first disc out. And we're gonna put in the second disc. Alright. We're going to click OK. Alright. kicking in again. Be patient. We gotta make sure that it goes in all the way. All right. Still going. Still going. It's almost finished. Updating the registry. Do you want to create a Dragon's Lair 3D icon on your desktop? Yes, I do. Okay, we're gonna cancel this. Are you sure we want to? Yes, I want to skip the registry. Do you want to read the README file? No. All right. We're gonna take this out of here. Setup is complete and Dragon's Lair 3D is now installed. We're gonna close it out. All right. We got these over here. Configuration, Ubisoft, Dragon's Lair 3D. Okay. Gonna see what it is. Okay, we're gonna go down here. Don't need that. Okay, we're gonna get this out here. Alright, we're back at the main board here. And we're gonna see if it'll play right now. And we're gonna click that in there. Mouse needed for play. We're gonna change my graphics because every time I click on this game, my graphics of my resolution of my board keeps going out of whack. So I'm gonna go back down here to 1680 by 1050. All right, and okay, we can quit this out of here. All right, we're gonna see if it'll run right quick. Let's see. Okay, I expected that, and the game is not running, and there is a very, very good reason for that. And I'm gonna let a fellow YouTuber who had this very same situation happen to him way back when I was interested in getting the game installed on my Windows 10, and he will explain why this is not running on Windows 10 and possibly won't run on Windows 11, but he will explain why. His name is IKANANKA, and I will be letting him take over, and then he will explain why is it not running. And then I will get back to you and I will show you all how to make the game run on your Windows 10 and 11. Okay, I'll be back shortly, and I'll talk to you in a bit.
Hi folks, and welcome to this getting started video for the game Dragon's Lair 3D Return to the Lair, or as it's known in Europe as Dragon's Lair 3D Special Edition. Now, I'm making this video because I've had trouble trying to get the game running in Windows 10, and after a bit of research managed to get it figured out, and so I thought I'd do a video to show you how to do that. Now this game, and that's the game installed. So what I'll now show you in the next section is what happens when you try and run the game immediately after this initial installation. So now let's just try and run the game now that we've completed the initial install. So we're going to double click on the Dragon's Lair icon there, and we're going to click yes at the user account control dialog box, and then we'll get the Dragon's Lair 3D configuration utility will come up, and I'll just show you my settings on this later in the video. But for now, we're just going to click on the play button. And what you can see is nothing appears to happen. The game doesn't run. Now, the root cause of this can be found by going to the event viewer. I'll just wait for that to populate. And now if we go into the Windows logs and system, and if we look at the latest error there under the Service Control Manager, it says here that the SecDRV service failed to start due to the following error. This driver has been blocked from loading. And this is actually the root cause of why Dragon's Lair 3D will not run after this initial installation. So in the next section, I'll just run through the reasons behind this and the options that you have to bypass this problem. So the root cause of the issue is that Dragon's Lair 3D uses a DRM technology called SafeDisk, and SafeDisk relies on the secdrv.sys driver being functional and active in your version of Windows. Now, as it says here, and this was reported fairly widely on the internet, and this is on howtogeek.com, that Microsoft made headlines when it stripped support for SafeDisk and a related technology called SecureROM from Windows 10. And also, further security updates to Windows Vista, 7, 8 and 8.1 have also removed support from these DRM schemes from older versions of Windows. Now Microsoft did this for a very valid reason, is that these technologies created security loopholes in Windows, and they had in the past been exploited by hackers and viruses to enable remote users to take full control of your computer without your knowledge. So Microsoft have fairly sensibly eliminated these technologies from being embedded in Windows. But it does mean that games that use this technology, and that was tended to be from the period around 2003 to 2008, that those games will not run. And if we now go to another website, and I'll put the links to both of these websites in the video description below, and this is a windowsreport.com website, they actually provide you with a kind of fairly good list of what options you have to get your game running. Now solution one they have here is to check the developer's website for the latest patches. Now unfortunately Dragon's Lair 3D, being from the 2002-2003 era, is fairly old. It was developed by Dragonstone software, who unfortunately no longer exist. It was published by Ubisoft, and Ubisoft no longer provides support for the game, and they certainly haven't provided a patch to get the game working under Windows 10 and the Windows versions without the SafeDisk technology. So this solution one is not an option, unfortunately. The second solution is to use a dual boot, but that would mean you'd have to actually install Windows XP or an earlier version of Windows on your dual boot machine. And if you're already doing that for other reasons, that's all well and good. But if you're doing it just to run the game, that's a fairly significant change to your computer that you're going to have to make just to get one game running. And there is a much simpler solution, so I don't recommend that as an option. The third one is to use a virtual machine. And that, again, that's a similar thing. You would run a virtual machine to run Windows XP or earlier. And again, that's a significant change to your system if you don't need it for anything other than just playing this game. So again, I don't recommend it just for playing Dragon's Lair 3D. Now, if we move further down this screen, there are a couple of other options. Now, solution 4 is to buy a digital version of the game. Unfortunately, Dragon's Lair 3D it has not been put up for sale by Steam or GOG, so it's not currently available digitally. So you can only play this game if you own the original discs. So this is not an option. Now, the final solution that Windows Support provides here is to add safe disks back into Windows, and you can do that manually using the method that they give here for Windows 10 or in the howtogeek.com. They provide a link to instructions that Microsoft provide to enable safe disk and the secdrv.sys driver back under Windows Vista 7, 8 or 8.1. However, this does mean that the very reason Microsoft took it out for security reasons that you will be bypassing that. And as it states quite clearly here, this can cause system instability and potential security issues. And again, I really don't recommend this as an option. Now, one other solution is to actually use a cracked no CD version of the game.
This is Enuice again, and I'm back, and I'm gonna tell you how to make Dragon's Lair 3D run on your PC of Windows 10 and 11. And to do that, in order for you to run the game, you need a cracked disk file of the game. That means a special kind of file that can enable the game to run on your Windows 10 and 11. And one of the ways to do that is to get it on this site here that says Game Copy World. And as you can see, I have Dragon's Lair 3D on here. Now, pardon these ladies here that is materializing on this site because it can't be helped. This site was originally done in the early 2000s, and as the years went by, apparently porn sites have been trying to take over this site, and it can't be helped. You got these lovely girls here, and it can't be helped. But anyway, back to try to get Dragon's Lair 3D to run on your computer. You need a disk crack file that will be able to play the game, therefore bypassing some of the technology that is on the current Windows of 10 and 11. And what you need is one of these files right here. And in order to get one of these files, you have to scroll down. I'll give you the name again. It's Game Copy World. And I will be giving y'all the link when I post this special on my YouTube channel, and all you have to do is scroll down when you type in Dragon's Lair 3D right here, and you scroll down all the way to the bottom here, and you need to go on this one right here, Dragon's Lair 3D v1.0 English no CD fix executable file, and it tells you how to install the game, full installation, replace the original Dragon's Lair 3D exec file with the one from the file archive, and then you can play the game. And in order to get to this file, you can probably go over here and you can pick out which one you want. You can get the English, the German, and Spanish versions of the file, but mainly you can just go straight down here and get this file right here, which I just already described. And you click on this, And then this board will pop up. And this sorry about that. This file will be in any one of these right here. And this is the name of the file. GRUDL3DCD.RAR. That is the name of the file that you need to get. And you can choose one of these links to download the file from this site. And be warned, if you download this file, there's a chance that it might have viruses on it. It will probably take you to your antivirus protector on your computer. It'll probably be sent there and quarantined. But this is the file that you need to get, because when I took my PC to have it equipped for Dragon's Lair 3D by my technician, my computer technician, he gave me this same type of file, GRUDL3DCD-RAR. That is the name of the file that you need. Okay, we're going to get out of this. And you can click on any one of these to get the file. But, however, if you want a file I already have, you can just contact me directly with my YouTube channel. And you can just send me a little message, and then I can tell you how to get the file without no trouble. I will be renting a Dropbox, so that way you'll be able to download the file from the Dropbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of here. Okay, I'm back to the main board again, and I'm about to show y'all how to do this in order to get Dragon's Lair 3D to play on your PC. So right now we're going to go to this. Alright, configuration. I don't want to hear them. We'll get out of this. Hold on, I'm going to go to the disk drive, local disk. Now, we're going to start here. You go to your disk drive where the game was installed. Like mainly your C drive, you know, your main drive on your PC. And after you get to this, you click on Program Files x86. Okay, you click that, and this will pop up, your Program Files x86. And you scroll down until you get to the file Ubisoft, UBISoft. That is the software in which Dragon's Lair 3D is in. So you click on that. Okay, you go to Dragonstone, right here, right there. Dragonstone, click on that. You got Dragon's Lair 3D right there. And then you got this little section in there. You got the bin, the movies, the save, the sounds, the control, and the 3D, JL 3D, README, runtime, and Ubisoft website. Now, after that, you will go to the bin file right here. You click that. Alright, we're in this one. This is the most important, crucial thing in order to get Dragon's Lair 3D to run on your PC. Now, what you need to do is go to this file, Dragon's Lair DL3D, right here. You highlight it. And what you do is you're not going to delete it, but you're going to change the name. Change the name. Okay, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to leave it just like that, but I'm going to add Ode 2026. 2026 A. I'll do that for example. Okay, and then after you rename it, click on that. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to go to your cubable crack file, and you're going to download that onto this area. Okay, so we're gonna shrink this right here. All right, now I already did this already, so what I'm gonna do is, let me go to the right here, I already put the crack file into a file already. You know, into a new file already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this file. Okay, let me go a little smaller here. Put this over here. Put this over here. Wait. Over there. Okay. Now, this file right here is the one that you need to open right here. This one with the green, purple, and red book icon. That's 1/10/3/2025. Okay. I'm going to click on that. This is when my technician put this one into my PC. Okay, we're going to click on that. All right, and this board will pop up. I'm going to close this off right here. All right, and we'll have 3 files in here. It's going to have a blank file right here, and it's going to have a GRUDL3DCD info right here, and it's going to have the DL3D executive file. This is the file right here in which you're going to move directly to your bin area, where that way you'll be able to run the game. This is the file that you downloaded from that Game Copy World site over there. And what you can do is you're going to highlight it. You're going to click on the right side, and you're going to, let me do this again for you just to be safe. We're going to highlight it. You're going to right click, and this board will come up. Okay, and you're going to scroll down, and you're going to go to right here, extract to a specific folder. All right, and then this box will pop up. All right, and extract and replace files. You don't touch anything right here. You just go down here. You're going to go to your local disk drive. You're going to right click on that. I mean, should I say click on the plus? We're going to click on the plus right here. We're going to go down to program files times 86. That will pop up. And then you're going to go all the way down to Ubisoft right here. Ubisoft, you're going to click on the plus there. Under Ubisoft, you're going to click on the plus. Okay, then the Dragonstone will pop up. You're going to highlight the Dragonstone. You're going to click on the plus on that. Then there's Dragon's Lair 3D. You're going to click on this, and you're going to click on the plus. All right, then it's going to go to the bin, movie save sounds. You're going to click on the plus. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on the bin, and then you're going to click OK on this. You're going to put it in the bin folder here, and you're going to click OK. All right, we're going to highlight this. Wait. Okay, we're going to get out of here on this. Okay, we're going to get out of here on this. And there it is, right here. Dragon's Lair 3D. That is the cubable crack file that you just transferred from the other file to this one right here. Okay, there it goes. All right. It disappeared, but I know where it's gone. It's gone into my antivirus area. And I got to go there. I'm going to click on my arrow at the far bottom here. And I'm going to go to this, to my Windows security. All right. Virus and threat protection. I'm going to go there. Okay. We're going to say no current threats. Got virus and threat protection. I got that. Okay. Allow threats. Let me see. No threats, protection history. All recent actions. Okay, a threat has been blocked. That's 1/13/2026. And we're going to go down here. All right. It is a hack 32 Windows 32 crack. It's quarantine. That is the file that I had transferred into the Dragon's Lair 3D file area in the bin area. So the threat was blocked and it's quarantined. So what I'm going to do is, okay, hold on. Learn more. Let me see. We don't need that. Get out of here. Okay, we're going to go all recent items filtered. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go to all recent items in your protection history. Go to filters. Go to quarantine items. Okay, threat quarantine, threat blocked. Okay. Threat blocked. Okay, we're going to go to threat quarantine. All right, it already highlighted the tool Windows 32 crack, quarantined. Okay, quarantine items. And then go to your actions section. And I'm going to restore this back to where I had it at in the Dragon's Lair bin area. Okay. Threat remove the black. Okay, affected items, the high. Okay. All right. Let me see if it came back there. All right. It came back there. There it is right there. There is the baby right there. Dragon's Lair 3D. There's the old file right there that I just changed. And there's the 3D file right there. Okay. We're going to see if it works now. We're going to set it down here. Oh, I got to pin a file to the taskbar. Okay, let me pin this to the taskbar. Pin to the taskbar. Okay, we got that. I can get out of this right here. Close the window to my antivirus. Okay. Now, let's see what we got here. All right. Mouse needed for play, but before we do, I'm going to change the format of it. Okay, the resolution. Okay, I'm going to go to 1680 times 1050. Okay. All right. All right, let me see. We're going to go to the video first and change the format. All right. We're going to go to 1680 times 1050. Okay. Let's check the audio. Audio is high. 2 speakers. All right. Advanced. Okay. Well, we don't need to change anything here. We don't need to change anything in the audio. Okay. All right. We're going to go to the video. We already did. Okay, we're going to see if it'll play now. Let's see what we do. There she goes. It's working. That's it. All right, let's get on here. And there you have it. That's how you set up Dragon's Lair 3D. Okay, let's start the game. All right, we're going to bypass this. There she goes. I'm going to bypass this because I want to see the whole game. You know, see the game how it starts off. There it is. All set.
Dirk! It's Daphne! I can speak to you through the amulet. I might be able to help you find me.
Alright, let's see what we got here. Let me change the camera
Be
right
sure to check the amulet if you've missed anything I've said.
Options. Camera is on. Okay. Alright, let me see.
Please hurry!
Working fine. Oh. Okay, Dirk. Okay. Hold on. to change. Oh, we're back into the resolution. Okay, that's good. But other than that, that's about it. That's how you set up Dragon's Lair 3D for your Windows 10 and possibly Windows 11. And that's about it. The rest is up to you all now. I hope this video will have been a great help to you all. And that's about it. And good luck on getting it set up. I will have the links to the DVD copy world and links to my crack file. And I'll have them on YouTube. And I should have this video special up in about a day or so. And all take care and enjoy yourselves and good luck in installing Dragon's Lair 3D. Alright, you all take care and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.